Okay, Inside Music Time, another really special one. I'm here with Stephen Mallinder of Cabaret Voltaire, celebrating 50 years of incredible, inspiring music. Welcome back to LA. Do you remember the first time your band was here and what that was like?
Yeah, it would have been, I think about 1980, 79, 80.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was quite an eye-opener. We just did kind of dates around the West Coast. We
Okay.
were sort of based in San Fran, did a few dates there to San Diego, or we've been to Bay Area. We came down here to Los Angeles, and memorable also because they did have, kind of how you want to with Three Big Sur and all that. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, we kind of doubled it up with our whole Californian experience. But yeah, and I remember it being a balmy, warm night, and yeah, quite a crazy crowd. But
How did people know about you back then? Were you getting airplay here on the West Coast? Was it through other means?
I think it was in part the fact that we were. I think the recent press in the UK, because we were first band to found Rough Trade. We were on Factory Records, and we came over because Rough Trade was setting up the Blavia place over here and basing it in San Fran. So we kind of came over, sort of to the West Coast on the heels of, indie kind of movement. You're visiting now, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So being back here now for this big 50th celebration and farewell, what kind of emotions do you have? I know you're in the middle of this, but you're kind of West Coast.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I'm not a hyper reflective person. I'm not nostalgic. I don't really dwell on it. I tend to move forward, but I'm very aware of in the rearview mirror what we've done. So this is a nice opportunity to maybe slow down and look in the rearview mirror rather than just keep going forwards. And so it's been nice to do that and really kind of re-engage with the tracks and do that. Is we built all these tracks up from nothing. They're not kind of based on the original. So even though they will sound incredibly familiar to people.
Yeah.
And we wanted to keep the tracks that we're doing as really authentic as possible because they're people's memories, and so it's important to sort of not sort of tweak people's memories and I want them, they can make them themselves. I want to remold.
Keep it fresh for you.
Yeah. So it was nice to go through the process of revisiting the stuff on that side, but also nice to sort of feel the logical spin coming back.
Because you've had your whole career, people telling you how much you've influenced them as well. So there's always been a kind of looking back, but something nice that there's young bands, young people that owe everything to what you guys have been doing for decades.
And we started this first leg of the American tour over in the East Coast in September, but it has been nice to see such a wonderful mix of age groups and people and types of people to know that it wasn't totally locked in time. It had, it kind of continued in the scenes of what we did, put it through to newer generations and influenced or at least had an effect on people. So that's really nice knowing I'm not just playing to people my own age, which is really kind of, important to me.
Yeah. And there's always been a joy to what you do amidst darker music and amidst darker stuff. There's always been kind of a joy as well. And people dance to what you've done forever. And I know you talked about this before, but just kind of that mix that it doesn't always work for everyone that tries it. You kind of set the standard back in the day. Just where that came from and how you've kind of influenced other people with that. Like what's going on in your head all these decades for that mix to work so well?
I think we always started off trying and continued to sort of at least reflect the world around us, and that meant good and bad. And I think there was always an intention to make people think, but also make people move and make people respond. And, I think we're human beings. We're capable of holding more than one thought and one emotion in our heads and in our bodies. So even though thematically and some of the parts of it are kind of heavy and dark in some ways, there's also massive joy in it. We can, dance through the apocalypse, I suppose you could say. But we've always felt that. So we never wanted to bash people over the heads. We wanted to just sort of make people wiggle into people's minds really. Yeah, and you can do a lot more, with the good grooves than you can with anything else.
Sure. And for better or worse, that Apocalypse is always kind of right there.
No, it's always been there for
Closer, but it's always been.
Yeah, I'm a child of the Cold War and the post-nuclear time of age. So we've always lived with some kind of existential threat lurking somewhere in there. So it's no different. And I'm not a doommonger or anything. So, but at the same time, I'm a realist, and it's nice to sort of, we're political animals, and it's good to sort of bring those elements into what we do.
You have a new record out as well that you're selling at shows. It's available on your website.
Yeah,
the live album.
Yeah.
So, and you've had so many great releases and so many compilations and things over the years. Talk about this one and what fans could expect. The real fans are going to take from this one.
Well, we've always had a history of actually releasing bootleg, like ourselves is another word for it.
Yeah.
Because I think Richard and myself, and Memphis, but particularly Richard and myself, being the mainstays, always felt the live kind of area was something that really, it was the moment that we had the people experiencing it. And so we did kind of enjoy doing live shows. So we always kind of wanted to capture those live members. And it's really just, and the final one in that series, and it is one that is got little bits from all those. So there's bits from Live at the Lyceum, there's bits from, those same tracks are filtered through. So all the later tracks will be, there. So it's just that it's a distillation of the band's history, really. Why and why in the live context.
Yeah. And a show like tonight, when you're playing songs that you'd call hits versus probably some deeper tracks for the real fans, and what's it like when you see people knowing every word, every beat out there in the farthest part of the audience? Just still at this point in your career, it must be a great feeling.
Oh yeah, when even just when we come onto the sort of themes, it's great to see people. It's great now. Oh wow, even people recognize it if they only heard 2 bars and they've got it. So it's
yeah. And marking the 50th and all that, and you say farewell tour, where does that leave you moving forward? Because you said you are someone that likes to move forward and keep going forward. So what's the next step for you, possibly for the band in another direction? Where will the Cabaret Voltaire go? What's next for you guys?
I think I wanted to, this is kind of the end of a narrative arc for me, because with Richard passing, while Chris was around, it's been good to be engaging in the process of this. He knows maybe to do shows, and I'm not doing this. So it was a way of kind of finishing the story. But I mean, I think probably what would be nice to do is to just archive what we've done. I mean, we talked about doing a documentary, a film, an exhibition, something like that. But I didn't want to do new music, Cabaret Voltaire, because I think it's on, it's Richard's, myself and Richard's. Chris and I, I'm doing some stuff on Chris's new album, and I've got a new Wrangler album coming, which is the thing that's been recorded. So, I want to make new music, but I don't want to cheapen the band's name by doing my own stuff on the Cabaret Voltaire. I think that's disrespectful to the legacy and to Richard as well. So I'm not going to do that.
Understood. And as things have changed so much and evolved, and you guys were around at the time when things were very analog and there were electric tapes and things were different. You were able to be very artistic in that world. Now that things are very different, talk about that mix and how much you still want to go back to that, how much that's still in your head as you're creating something new. Have you embraced all the new technology?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a mix of both. I think we're in an interesting stage of technology and where music's going. I think there's part of me, I'm fascinated by that, and I explored that, and I talk quite a lot about work people doing with AI and all those things. It's great. I'm kind of fascinated with it, but I'm also aware of the process, and it's nice not to lose those processes that we took. So working with analogs, working with much other things, still working tape recorders, things like that. I think that's important to maintain. Better makes it match really. But I'm intrigued by the new, but I'm also conscious that people see authenticity in the old, something that's solid, that's tangible, that has materiality. For a lot of people, in terms of processing of the music, makes it feel more authentic. And I kind of agree. And so I do not, lean into that part.
Sure. Well, someone with your creativity and your talent, it's okay to embrace over the world, that people know where it's coming from. I was talking to Thomas Dolby recently. He says the same thing. I was fully embraced that world. but with his artistic vision, and it's not going to take over, and there's no fear of it, as long as it's coming from your heart and mind and all that. Yeah. And put to words at the end of a show like tonight, what's going through your head? What's the end of what's a good show for you when everything's said and done?
It's just that the people get it, and the people who experienced it, and if they enjoy it after, and it seems to have been going that way. So we have the stuff, at least there's stuff, kind of conversation and that energy between or us on the stage and the music, and people experiences us. Just it's the experience that's been in room, so it's nice every time they do it.
Thankfully, a good amount of you guys are still around from that early period, and they're still touring, still making music. How many other people do you still converse with? Is there still a community of artistic, like-minded artists that are?
Yeah. I mean, I've always been quite a gregarious and social sort of person. So yeah, I mean, the old friends from the old days. I mean, we've all moved off and done our own thing and families and made our own records, but yeah, we bump into each other and pop up and, guest list, and, my kids get me to go on, we order playing somewhere so I can get some guest lists. And the same, so, it's our generation that we've got, the books on the ground, but yeah, no one listening, anyone's popping in because they're too busy to do so. But
Right.
yeah, well, I still see it. We'll still see them. I'm shouting a lot, so we're in Sheffield. So,
Right.
and still, fill out these beats and sheds, something Martin and Glenn.
Oh, nice.
The 17. I worked with Addy from Top UDA still. I'm just doing some new stuff together. I was especially doing a William Burroughs piece with him in London in Frontman. So
cool.
we still do a couple of them as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, pre-show, you're here talking to me. What were things like back when you were first here in the 7 area? What would you have been doing during this hour? How different are things for you?
Probably not much different. Gonna try and grab a bite through. Maybe I would have had a few beers before I went, back then when the first days. Now I'll have a beer after the show. Yeah, I've got too much to do. It's kind of, it's, I've got to focus, which in the old days, there was less less buttons to worry about and more kind of fluid.
Yeah.
So that's the only slight difference.
Yeah. The last one more thing about the show, just the visuals have always been so important, both with the artwork on the albums, but the visuals on stage. I know how much that's important to you. Just what can people expect in terms of this tour right now, this week, in terms of how amazing that's all?
Well, we've worked with all as well as working towards kind of recreating the original sounds. I've worked with all the original footage. So there is a lot of the original film video footage is being recontextualized. Peter Kerr, who obviously did the videos for the famous video Sensoria and the Argue, who will be here because he lives out in LA. And we do every night, we do a little bit of the live soundtrack, the text music scene from Johnny Esther. So the big thing for me is that people to see that in a person. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
He's been helping me he's been part of putting the visuals together as well. And so it's
a wonder guy. Yeah. Well, congrats on your amazing vision all these decades and celebrating what you guys have done tonight. And I really appreciate talking to you.